You're listening to the Cat Breeder Sensei Says podcast. But this is a little different than what you're used to listening to. We have decided to start a special series called Trigger Warning. And all of these podcast episodes are strictly going to focus on what we believe are controversial topics in the cat breeder community. Each of these episodes will have a special guest accompanying me. Her name is Marche. I mean, that's not her real name, but that's her name for the podcast, just like my real name is in April. And we're going to discuss these controversial topics, and we want to create some thought-provoking ideas of, first, why these are controversial to begin with. Are they based on science? Are they based on facts? Or are they based on opinion? And why these ideas are so heavily accepted as the norm in the cat breeding community. Now, just a disclaimer before we get into any of these topics, we do want to let you know that we are not expressing any particular belief in any of these controversial topics. We just want to get you thinking about these topics and maybe open your mind to some different ideas and really start questioning what is being taught out there, and why we think the things we do and why we believe what we believe and where these narratives come from to begin with, because there's more than one right way to do things, and that's what we're going to talk about. So some of the topics that we're going to be talking about in our Trigger Warning series, and by the way, it's called Trigger Warning because we know for a fact this is going to trigger the cat hags. It's going to trigger them so hard they are going to fall off of their chairs. But anyway, some of the topics that we have planned for the Trigger Warning series are how soon to mate your females after she has a litter of kittens. In fact, that's the one we're going to be diving into on this episode. Also, your stud living in his own quarters away from the home or outside of the home. Profit from selling kittens. Blue-eyed Maine Coons. Trigger, 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 trigger. And mink ragdolls. Early spay and neuter or sending your kittens home intact. Breeding for extreme features. Raw diets versus commercial kibble. Trigger, 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 trigger. Handling buyers after the sale, and the phrase that everybody loves to use, backyard breeders. So we're going to dive into breeding your queens back-to-back right after this special message.
Do you want to learn how to become a successful breeder of pedigree cats? Now you can. For the first time ever, enroll in an online training course that takes you step by step through everything you need to know to get on the right track. Visit catbreedersensei.com to sign up today and use code podcast21 to get $25 off.
Man, this is going to be an epic conversation. So what we're going to do is we're just having a conversation between us to explore some of these different ideas. So let's get into it. Marche.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this Trigger Warning series. We're going to have so much fun with this. These are things that we talk about amongst ourselves all the time in private, and we never bring them to the table. We never bring them to the public. And, I mean, I know we've talked about these topics, every single one of them, probably at least 10 or 15 times but amongst ourselves and with other people. We just have never brought it to light. It's like taboo topics.
Yeah.
These are the things that there's a narrative, but nobody wants to argue with it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to...
They don't want to be wrong.
Yeah. They don't want to go against the grain of what is... shoved down our throats. I'm a little more aggressive than Marche is, but these ideas are shoved down our throats, and
we just accept them as that's what it is. But
yeah.
Do we have to?
Right.
Do we actually have our own thoughts and reasons behind why we do it, or are we just doing it because that's what everybody says?
Well, that's what we do. We question everything.
Yeah.
And we start thinking about Like, why do we do this? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And then we remember why. Is because somewhere, probably in a Facebook group, a fake book group, somebody has told us this is the way to do it. And more than one person has told us, all of the cat hags. And not the cat hags, too. I mean, it's not just the cat hags that believe these things. It's pretty much the majority of people.
Yeah.
And then there's the small audience, this little, I always go like the 80-20 rule, that they probably don't agree with it. And they just don't say anything.
Yeah. I wouldn't say this particular topic necessarily, but I think that people are very opinionated on when to mate their queens next
Oh, yeah, they are.
after they have their first litter. And we were talking about it the other day because you have a cat that has, how old are your kittens?
Currently, they are 11 weeks old.
11 weeks old. But she went into heat when they were 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
And she heats real bad.
Yeah, and she's been in heat like 4 or 5 times since she had kittens.
And she's loud and she's in heat for a long time. So we were sitting on the couch thinking, why is she not allowed to just mate?
Yeah.
Like, if she is listening to her own body as a cat, why are we the ones that tell her, you can't have more kittens?
Yeah, I'm
You're
in
not
control.
you're
I'm in
not
control
ready
here.
yet. Yeah. When she's saying, I'm ready to have more kittens.
She is.
But she said it 4 or 5 times now.
She did.
All day long.
She's saying it right now.
She is.
And she just got out of heat a week ago, and here she is in heat again.
Yeah.
But what am I doing? I'm waiting because
Her kittens haven't even gone home yet.
they're going home soon. But I'm waiting because that's what the narrative is out there. I don't want to be the bad guy for mating her too soon, and then everybody comes along, whoever everybody is, and looks at the last time she had kittens.
Yep.
And finds,
Because they'll do that.
Oh yeah, and they find out, for God's sake, that she had kittens 12 weeks ago. Well, no, I mated her 12 weeks after she had her last kittens, and oh my God, that I get crucified because I didn't wait the magical number that has been created for these cats.
Yeah, which is what? It's different for everybody.
It is.
Everybody has their own
It is.
number.
It is. But in Europe, by the way, let's talk about this for a second. Is this interesting? In Europe, they have rules when you register a cat. They can only have 3 litters every 2 years. So it's once every 8 months.
Wow.
So there is kind of some guidelines in Europe for that.
Yeah.
So that's why they come up with that rule. But guess what it is in the United States of America?
Well, I know what it is. It's 90 days.
It is. It's 90 days. And 90 days, I don't know what it is in CFA, but in TICA, and it's not a rule either. It's not like you can go to their website and find this rule, and it's definitely not on the Code of Ethics.
Yeah.
So it's not an ethical issue that they deem to be important enough to put on this certificate that we signed.
Yeah.
It's just when I go to register a litter of kittens, like I discovered this when I chose the wrong queen one time. I was trying to register a litter and I chose a queen, and I was like, why can't I register? And it was because, you registered her less than 90 days ago. And I was like, I'm picking the wrong cat. I'm like, I didn't know that there was this chokehold on registering a queen every 90 days. But now I've learned that TICA, and that's what everybody, like, if we accept everything about TICA, then we accept everything. How can we get to pick and choose what rules or what guidelines TICA gives us? We all go by TICA's Code of Ethics, right? We all go by the breed standard that TICA publishes and uses in their cat shows. We are all real hardcore on that. I mean, the Blue-Eyed Maine Coons is another whole episode, and that is really going with that TICA breed standard. They don't allow blue eyes, so it's not breed standard. But TICA will let me register a mom 90 days after she had a litter of kittens. Now, if we do the math on this, that means a cat is pregnant for 65 days. So if we can register her 90 days after she gave birth to a litter of kittens, that means that per TICA.org, the International Cat Association, they will allow me to register a litter of kittens, and the mom would have been mated approximately 25 days after she had kittens.
Yep.
That would make those kittens about 3.5 weeks old.
Yeah. I mean, why? If she's in heat, then that's her body telling her that she's ready to go again. But you have to think about. I wouldn't do 3 weeks because she's still nursing at 3 weeks. So
She is.
There's that. But
And this is where the arguments come in, that in the wild, people always use that term too,
in the wild,
in the wild.
yeah,
But the cats aren't in the wild.
yeah,
They're not. They're under the control of a human being.
yeah.
But does nature make mistakes?
I don't think nature makes mistakes.
If we also relate this to a human, which people love to relate cats to humans. They're not human. But if we use a human as a parallel, can a human deliver a child and get pregnant while they're still nursing their baby?
Yeah, they can. And you know what they say? Well, they say you shouldn't get pregnant for 18 months after you have a baby.
Who says that?
I don't know. The regulation of, I don't know.
The people.
Scientists, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So you shouldn't, because your body has to replenish nutrients and blah, blah, blah. But people do.
And
They
fine.
decide, I'm ready to have another baby, and they have another baby, and it's a fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
They have no complications, a smooth delivery.
Mm-hmm. Lots of people have babies back to back.
I know someone personally that had 2 babies in 1 year. No, she got pregnant when her first baby was 3 months old.
Yeah, see?
So the second baby was born when the first one was 11 months old.
Yeah. And if nature did not intend for that to happen, then perhaps maybe she shouldn't have been able to get pregnant.
And I don't think she would have if it wasn't supposed to happen. But she did.
I don't like the human parallel, because a girl, when she starts her cycle, is able to get pregnant, and she shouldn't when she's young, 12 or 13 or 14. But that's only because society has said she shouldn't.
50 years ago, she could. Did.
My grandmother was 13 years old when she got married.
We're getting off track.
We are, but I'm just making a point, is that she was 13 years old, got married, started having kids, had a whole heap of them.
Yep.
And she's fine.
Well,
I mean, she's dead, but she still was fine, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
So, everybody comes up with their own reasoning
yeah, they do.
why you should or should not do it. Okay, so let's go like the opposite of, yes, pregnancy, labor, nursing, that does take a toll on a body, and you should give your cat time to recover. We like to give ours at least 4 months, but after I will mate a cat 4 months after she delivered kittens, which means she's delivering a litter 6 months after her last one. Now, I have mated a cat 3 months after she had kittens, and she had a litter 5 months after her last one. Guess what happened? Nothing.
She had her babies and
Everybody was fine. She was fine. They all survived. Nothing happened. And I mated her because of the stupid pyometra scare.
Yeah.
That everybody makes you think. That's a whole different episode. But
Yeah.
it's BS.
So they say you can't mate your cat as soon as they go into heat after they have given birth, but if you wait, they'll get pyometra.
hold on. if you wait the magic number 3 times,
Yeah.
she can't go into heat more than 3 times or everybody starts panicking.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
In which case, your cat would be, she wouldn't even have a uterus no more.
Yeah.
It would have exploded with pus because
Yeah.
she's been in heat for the last 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not going to mate her because I have a couple of litters coming up and I don't want another litter right now. So I'm not mating her. She's going to wait and she's probably going to be in heat 5 or 6, 7 times before I mate her again. And guess what? She doesn't have the bacteria in her vagina that causes pyometra. Therefore, she's not going to get it.
Yeah.
And that's another word. That's a whole nother trigger warning.
Write it down.
y'all. It's on there. It's coming. Believe me, the pyometra one that really gets me going because it's made up.
Okay, so let's talk about some reasons that breeders believe that you should let a cat mate whenever they're ready after they give birth. So
Soon after birth. So
yeah, whether it's their first heat or their second heat or whatever.
right.
So like we said earlier, some people think in the wild, quote, in the wild, that cats go into heat, well, I'll just say a couple weeks after they give birth, and they still have babies that are nursing, and they go out and they get pregnant again, and they go back to their kittens, and they're fine. They raise their kittens and they move on with their lives, and then
You know what?
a couple weeks later they have another litter.
You know how I know this is a true statement?
How do you know?
Because everybody complains about it,
Yeah.
about cats on the street.
Yeah, they do.
That have kittens and they don't get spayed and neutered, and then they have kittens again and
Yep.
kittens again and kittens again and kittens again. But I never see cats out on the street that look real sick or dead. They're
Yeah.
always running around with all their kittens.
Yeah.
And
you
they're
know-
creating colonies.
yeah.
So some people believe it's natural and efficient to do that. When the cat is ready, breed them, mate them.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's also, I had this is a real example too, that when the cat goes into heat aggressively, we all know what that looks like. They're,
You're a cat right now.
yeah. But I had one who had kittens. She wasn't a very, very good mother. And she went in heat kittens were about 3 weeks old. And it stressed her out, okay? She was scratching her hair off, bald, okay? She scratched so much, and I don't know if it was from stress, from being in heat, because it was aggressive heat, or if it was hormonal stretching, itching. I don't know, but it was so bad, she was bald. Like, this cat's hair, she scratched it out practically anywhere she could reach with her back foot.
Yeah, I have one that does that too.
Yeah, and in that case, would it have been a good idea to just let her mate? She was so stressed out from them hormones, and I didn't. I did not mate her because I didn't want the backlash from the cat hags. You know what I'm saying? But as I was sitting in there looking at her, like, wow, she's really stressed out about this, that could have been where I had to make an executive decision and made her.
Yeah.
3 weeks after she had kittens. And then guess what? I'd have been able to register the babies because
Yep.
it would have been 90 days. But I didn't. I made her wait. And I ended up,
Yeah, we don't know what effects that has on their hormones in the long term
no.
because they don't do studies on cats about stuff like that.
No, they sure don't.
So what is it doing to them hormonally to not allow them to mate after they've been in heat however many times after they
Right.
had their kids?
Yeah. Because aggressive heats are, they're different than
Yeah.
just a normal, just normal. You can tell they're bothered.
Yeah.
If it's stressing her out physically, you can tell. She's the only one I've had like that.
Yeah.
That I could tell, this is not good for her. That to me is a reason to mate soon after birth.
Yeah.
If you see something like that,
Yeah.
where she's obviously physically, I don't want to use her suffering.
Uncomfortable?
Yeah, uncomfortable. Then, she probably should be mated.
Yeah.
Calm her down.
So that's some common reasons that people will fight and argue for mating their queens soon after they give birth, but there's also arguments that people have for why they're waiting longer in between litters. And one of the main reasons is that people think it's unethical to overbreed, quote unquote, your cats, and they see that as prioritizing profit over the health of the cat, because people say that they need to recover after they have a litter for however X amount of time, which they set. That's not a given. They decide however long that cat needs to recover before they can mate again. So
I got a question right here.
okay,
What
I'm ready.
does recovery look like? What does it look like when a cat is fully recovered from delivering kittens?
Well, I think it depends on the cat.
All right. Well, give me an example of one of your cats. She had kittens, and forget about mating her again. Just what do you see when you look at her and think she's fully recovered?
Well, my first queen lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
She got really skinny when she had a litter, both times. And you would even come over and be like, she's skinny she's skinny.
Yeah.
And all I did was wait for her to gain her weight back. Noticeably.
Right. Right.
I could pick her up and she felt solid.
Yeah.
She didn't feel hollow anymore.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
she didn't feel empty.
Right.
So I would say that for her, it wasn't a good idea to mate her again.
Yeah.
I think pregnancy did affect her more than really any other cat.
Yeah, I
I've
agree
seen.
with that.
So I think that it should be more of a case by case.
I agree with that.
I don't think it should be something that we just say, don't mate your cat
Period.
until X amount of time after they have kittens because they need to recover. Well, I can tell that I'm looking at them. They're healthy, they seem healthy. What am I waiting on? You
Right.
know?
Yeah. What are you waiting? You're waiting on the cat hags to approve it. You're waiting on the narrative pushers to say, it's okay. You can mate your cat now.
Yeah.
I approve of this.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come after you in your inbox if you mate her right now. You've waited long enough. You're a good girl.
I mean, some people wait like years. Like
I
some
know.
people don't let their cats have more than one litter a year.
Right.
Like they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
one and then they wait
Yeah.
until next year to have another one.
That's fine. That's everybody's.
That's their choice.
That's everybody's choice. And I opened this trigger warning series by saying there's more than one right way to do everything. There's no one way that is cut and dry for these cats. I mean, we see so many different scenarios and the cats are all different. They're like people.
Yeah.
They're not all the same.
And you
They're-
don't know what's going on in other people's catteries.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't look from the outside at what somebody else is doing and decide that that wasn't the right thing for their cats.
Yes.
Because you have no idea
You're correct.
what is happening in their cattery. You have
Man.
no idea what's happening to that cat.
Yep.
So it's not your business to decide
Preach, baby.
when when it's okay, because it is a case by case.
It really is.
It is a case by case for cat, and it's nobody's business.
It is no one's business.
Because in reality, in reality, not cat hag world,
yeah.
I would say the large majority of people who are breeding cats care about their cats.
Yes.
And they're not trying to overbreed them or try and make the most money out of them or make them really sick so that they can, I don't know,
Yeah.
have as many kittens as possible. People just aren't doing that.
Yeah.
People care about their cats and they care about their queens,
Yeah.
and they're not going to do something that they know is going to harm them
Yeah.
in the long run.
I agree with that. I think that we all just we try to make the best decisions that we can for our
Yeah.
cats, and whatever that means to us at the time. And if we make a mistake, then we learn from it,
Yeah.
and we move on, or we learn that the narrative pushers were wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I like to learn, is that, like, well, this is all wrong. Like, I have, on the opposite end of this, but also, I wanted to mate a cat. I had a cat, you know which one. I wanted her to go in the heat. She never would. She'd have kittens, and I'd be like, all right, well, it's going to be another damn 10 months before I get to mate her again, because that's just how she was. So, I guess also there's opportunity to mate your queen and have the kittens from her and try to reach your breeding goals from this queen.
Yeah.
If she's a really good health, temperament, and type cat, then
You want her in your program for
I want
as
her,
much as possible.
I want her in my program. I want her to have offspring so that I can decide on which ones to keep and keep this line going, because I love them so much. But she's not going in heat. So, she could be sporadic. She could go into heat 8 weeks after she had kittens and then not again for 11 months. Well, I'm going to take that opportunity when they're 8 weeks old. I'm going to mate her.
Yeah.
Because I know her history, and I don't want to wait another year before I mate her again. So there's that scenario too. So there's no right answer, is there?
No, there's not.
There's
The right answer is your answer.
Yes, that is correct. So that's what we want anyone who's listening to know, is that every decision that you make is your decision. It's nobody else's decision
Yeah.
to even comment on, unless you ask them specifically for advice. Then that's different. Like, if you don't know what to do and you want somebody to decide for you, which is a terrible idea, but some people need that. Okay, some people need to know what to do. Then just know that you're going to be given the advice from that person. It doesn't mean that it's the only way to do things.
Yeah, that's their opinion.
Yeah, there's no science on what's right here. So anyway, I think that probably covers most of the points that we wanted to make.
That was good.
Yeah, about breeding your queens back to back and what is right or wrong. So thanks for listening to our trigger warning first episode.
So if you haven't already, we have a Facebook group called the No Judgment Zone Pedigree Cat Breeder Community on Facebook. Join it, and we're going to be publishing the podcast in the group, and we want to hear your opinions and what you think about when you should be mating your cats and why you make the decisions that you make, and just have an open discussion. Hag free.
Yeah, you can also comment on our blog if you want to just drop a comment and you don't really want to be in the group for some reason, but you should join us in our group. But you can also just leave a comment here on our blog and let us know how you feel about this. We're going to take some of the comments that we get from actual breeders. Maybe they have a case study or a story like we've been sharing during this episode about either breeding soon after having kittens or waiting. Just whatever story you have, we'd like to hear those, and we'll share some of those on our next trigger warning episode, where we're going to talk about a different trigger warning topic. So we'll do that each time, try to get some actual stories and feedback and share those with you too.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Thanks for listening. You guys make good choices out there, and
We'll trigger you next time.